I'm going to start this mask with two really pretty cakes. One is Tag Sunset and the other is Prisma Breeze, which is a gorgeous cake, and they complement each other quite well. So you can see I've already done the cool side of this mask and now I am focusing on the warm side. And as I am applying the paint, I'm moving my sponge back and forth from one corner to the other. When you are doing sponge work, getting every single color down is not always feasible or the easiest way to sponge on color. So think of it as doing it in sections. Now, for the overall shape of this mask, I also try to think of kind of a bow shape. If you look at the overall shape of it from one side of my face to the other, you can think of kind of a complete bow or two large triangles meeting at the tip in the center of my nose. I do like using these two cakes because I get that Roy G. Biv look. They both meet in the center with purple on the cake, but I'm not going straight from red, orange, yellow, green, blue to purple. It just provides more interest and I still get that rainbow feel. So can you see how it looks like a big bow shape? That's how I start most of my masks. Now, while the paint is still wet, I'm going to go ahead and spray on my favorite Mama Clown glitter because I want this to be very, very glittery. So now I'm going to go back to the cool side. I'm going to re-wet the paint so I can apply glitter to this side as well and just clean up the overall shape so that I can get both sides to mirror each other pretty well. Does not have to be exact, but do your best. And this is my favorite glitter, the Mama Clown glitter is so pretty. If your sponge work gets a little messy, you can take a makeup wipe or a water wipe and just clean up the shape a little bit. So I am just going to sweep it around the bottom and refine it, and it does clean it up rather nicely. While I'm at it, I'm going to take a large dry brush and I'm just going to sweep away some of that extra glitter that I got on the bottom of my face as well. I am going to paint in my four-leaf clover using a filbert brush and some permanent green paint, and all I'm doing is painting in four hearts that meet in the center at the tip to create a four-leaf clover. Very, very simple, easy to do. If you have a stencil, by all means use a stencil, but I've never had a clover stencil. I just always paint them in like this, and it's pretty quick when you're, in the flow of things. So I'm going to do a four-leaf clover, but I'm going to pull the stem of the clover down so that it's meeting the mask so it doesn't feel like it's floating up above too much, but in the end it feels like it's part of the overall design. Then later, after this dries, I'm going to add some detail to the clover so that it stands out and it's not so flat. The details of this mask are a series of swirls and teardrops. Sometimes I lay out some foundational swirls and teardrops just by using the tip of my brush like I'm doing now to give me a starting point, and then later I'll thicken up certain parts and add some additional embellishments. If you are doing this on yourself, it does help to go from one side to the other. So I'll mirror my movements. I will do one teardrop on this side, and then I will go to the other side and do the same thing because it helps me keep everything more even. If I am standing in front of a client doing this, I can tend to do one side and then go back and do the other side, or at least I can get a little further without mirroring my movements one to one. But again, doing this on yourself is quite different than standing in front of someone, so do whatever you feel comfortable with. Sometimes too, when I do those teardrops where I drag the tip and then I drop down, I don't really like them and I have to go over them. So just practice this and work on an overall shape of a mask that you like to do, and then you can embellish it and add in so many different ways. The direction of this particular stroke I think is really important. You can see I'm starting a teardrop at the bottom facing to the outer corner of my eye, and then I'm going thinner and pulling up and then creating a kind of a tip over my eyebrow. Now, that bottom teardrop, if you face that towards the nose, I think it tends to not flow down with the rest of the teardrops that you're going to create going to the outer corner of the mask. So I'll show you again on this side. I am facing the teardrop in the direction that the other teardrops under my eye are going to face, and then I'm going to pull up and around my eye and then through my eyebrow. And that way I'm going to have a connective element from the top of my mask to the bottom of my mask. But sometimes I see people point that lower teardrop going in towards the nose, and then it doesn't flow with the other teardrops. So you can see I'm now taking that top part and I'm thickening it up so that it's a teardrop to a thin line and then back to a teardrop. And then I can connect those teardrops in multiple different ways. And I will be honest, I do this differently every time. I don't think I've ever painted a mask that came out the same. Sometimes I do swirls, sometimes I'll connect it with dots. You can play around with this and do so many different things. So now you can see I'm going to start adding teardrops to the bottom of my mask, and I'm doing them in the same direction as that first teardrop closest to my nose. Another tip or trick I try to use when doing masks is I try to think of elements in three, and that is not a hard, fast rule, but it does help me keep things flowing well. So I've done three teardrops, and now I also try to have at least one to two elements that are varying lengths. So you can see at the top, I have those first two swirls are a little longer, and then I did those teardrops next to it shorter. So I want to mirror that in some way at the bottom. And it's not that I'm copying the top exactly, but I'm going to have that longer element at the bottom of the mask as well. So there's some nice variance and that it's not too perfect or contrived. And this is not an easy thing to do, I don't think. I by no means think I'm a master at doing masks. I see a lot of other people that are much better at it than I am. I definitely, over time with practice, my masks have gotten better. So just keep trying, and over time, you'll create kind of a flow of what you know works, and it'll be a lot easier for you. When doing the corner of the eye for my masks, I always try to keep the teardrops or swirls or whatever I'm doing going up so that it lifts the eye and I'm not dragging it down. So it doesn't necessarily always have to be just a teardrop going up from the outer corner of the eye, but whatever I do, I try not to make the corner of the eye drop down by dragging too many elements down or making it too long by the outer corner of the eye. So just keep that in mind as well. And all of these things that I keep in my mind when I'm doing masks are because I've made the mistake. You know, I've done a mask on a kid and thought, oh, gee, that doesn't look quite right. And then I'm like, oh, right, I did a big teardrop that's kind of going down too far on the outer corner and it drug the whole mask down. So those are the things that I keep in my mind when I'm doing masks. And again, I don't think I really almost never do them the same. They're always a little bit different, but there's a few things that I kind of like a mantra I tell myself while I'm doing them so that I don't mess them up. So hopefully that makes sense. And now I'm going to go back and just thicken up some elements and refine some of the teardrops that I felt like didn't have a very good shape, or on those top longer swirls, I want, one side to be like a little thicker than the other side. And that way it's just going to create a little bit more interest and feel like a more well planned out mask. I do think this is a lot more natural and easy to do on someone else than it is yourself. And I do recommend before you go and do masks like this at events, practice this on a practice board, because even though it's simple swirls, it can be a little difficult. So just do your best. And I'm also going to add just a few teardrops in the center of this mask because I didn't like how it was just open and there was a hole right there. So I think that helps just connect everything. So I'm also going to pick a few spots where I just feel like the mask needs to be elongated, and I'm just going to add some dots. When doing the dots, do try to do them larger to smaller so they have a nice flow. And you don't have to do a lot of them. I think just a few adds a really, really nice interest. I am singing to myself, I think, so that is why my mouth is moving. I have no idea what I had playing, but I'm sure I had music on because it was helping me concentrate doing all these swirls and teardrops. So at the top, I'm just going to add some there, and I'm going to make them go in towards my center of my face. Even though they don't really end in the center of my face, you'll see that the dots are flowing in the same direction of the teardrop that I am uh, painting them from. So I'm also going to thicken up those swirls at the top because they just seemed a little weak to me and they were getting lost. So I'm just going to thicken them up a little bit so it's nice and thick to thin lines, and I think that helps a lot. Same with the ones on the corner of my eye. Okay, so now I'm going to give some definition to my four-leaf clover by outlining it in black. I'm keeping this relatively thin. I just want it to be more defined and not disappear. And then I'm going to add a yellow and white highlight to the clover as well, which really helps bring it some life because that green, solid green, can tend to be really, really flat and boring. And an optional step, if you want to really have everything pop, is to outline all of your swirls and curls in a dark color like black, navy, purple, something to give them a lot of contrast. I am using black and a #1 brush, and I do not outline everything that precisely. I do a really rough outline, and you guys, if you watch my videos, you know that I do not encourage you to outline something like this on the job. I would absolutely never outline this on the job. I love the way it looks when you have time, so I would do this for a client. I would take the time and the extra step of outlining, but if I was at a festival doing masks or at an event where it was like paper face or I had a long line, I would just stop at the white, and it's very, very effective as is. So I went ahead and sped this up because it is pretty tedious and a long process to watch, and didn't feel like you guys needed to watch me do that. So I'm going to get this all outlined, and then we're going to finish it off and be all done. If you're doing this on a teenager or an older woman, you can absolutely line the eyes and do more of a cat eye. I'm actually going to make it pretty dramatic on myself, and I'm going to just touch up my mascara a little bit with the black on my brush. Someone just asked me this in a comment about getting paint on eyelashes. When I get them on myself, a lot of times I'll just sweep my face paint back over my eyelashes to darken them back up so it doesn't look odd. But you can see I'm giving myself a really dramatic cat eye, and I'm pulling that line all the way down on the inner corner as well. And then I'm going to line the bottom of my eye as well. So I'm almost giving myself like an Egyptian lined eye. If I was doing this look by private appointment for a client, I would have switched to makeup and used liquid liner and mascara and even eyeshadow to give the eyes some more drama. But just on myself, I am going to use my face paint, and I do think it really helps give the eyes some definition and some drama. So I think it adds a lot to this look. And we can't forget the lips. I am using Too Faced Melted Matte Lipstick. I love this lipstick. It is my favorite. This red is Lady Balls. Super weird name, but it is gorgeous. And I do think that it goes so well with this rainbow mask. So here it is. This is the final look. It is my St. Patty's Day mask. Of course, if you ditch the clover, this could be a mask for any occasion. For Mardi Gras, for a masquerade, you can switch up the colors and the line work and have all sorts of different looks. So I hope you guys liked this. Please like and subscribe. As always, comment down below and let me know if you have any questions, and ring the bell to get notifications for when I upload a new video. Thank you so much for watching. I love you all, and I will see you soon.